Welcome back to my channel. Guys, I honestly think this whole situation with Cassius and Josslyn is about to spiral into something way darker than people are expecting. And the more I sit with it, the more I feel like this rescue story might not actually be a happy ending at all. It almost feels like the beginning of an even bigger disaster. And yeah, if you ask me, the moment Josslyn grabbed that chair and swung at Cassius, that was probably the exact second everything changed. Because let's really think about this for a minute. Josslyn isn't some trained operative. She's scared, exhausted, traumatized, cornered. A person in survival mode does reckless things. And honestly, that scene already plays in my head like one of those chaotic soap moments where adrenaline completely takes over logic. Cassius unlocks the door, steps into the room, probably believing Josslyn is broken emotionally already, and then bam, she smashes him with the chair before he can even react properly. And I gotta say, I actually love this direction for Josslyn because it shows desperation instead of superhero energy. There's a huge difference. A lot of shows make these escape moments look too polished. But this feels messy, violent, panicked, real. Now, do I think Cassius stays unconscious long? Absolutely not. That's where things get dangerous. Because while Josslyn is escaping, I can totally see Valentine already moving through Sidwell's castle in secret. And this is where my brain keeps going back to the same question. Why Valentine? Why does he fit this storyline so perfectly? Simple. He operates in shadows. Valentine sneaking through corridors, avoiding guards, keeping himself hidden, that fits his personality way more than Sonny barging through the front door with guns blazing. Valentine has always been more calculating, more patient. Honestly, sometimes creepy levels of patient. And if you watch his history closely, you already know he tends to appear exactly when chaos reaches its peak. So imagine this scene for a second. Josslyn runs out, terrified, maybe bleeding, maybe barely able to stand, and suddenly she sees Valentine, not a cop, not Sonny, Valentine. And guys, that changes the emotional temperature immediately. Because Josslyn probably wouldn't fully trust him at first. That hesitation matters. I think people overlook that. She's been trapped, manipulated, terrified for who knows how long. Trauma makes you suspicious of everybody, even allies. But Valentine likely tells her just enough to calm her down. Maybe not with some dramatic speech either. Honestly, I think quieter dialogue would hit harder here. Something simple, something cold but reassuring. Come with me if you want to live. Yeah, cliche maybe, but in soap operas, those moments work. And this is where I start thinking about Carly. Because the second Josslyn gets home injured, Carly's instincts as a mother are immediately going to explode into overdrive. I can practically hear the panic already. Carly asking rapid fire questions. Josslyn struggling to explain the tension, the fear, the guilt. And here's something I don't think enough people are talking about. Josslyn may actually blame herself for what comes next. That's huge. Because if Cassius wakes up and realizes Josslyn escaped, his brain is probably not functioning rationally anymore. He's angry, humiliated, desperate to protect whatever secret he's hiding. And desperate people in soaps always escalate. Always. That's why I believe Cassius immediately assumes Carly orchestrated the rescue, not Valentine, not some random outside force. Carly, honestly, from Cassius's perspective, it makes sense. Carly is the mother. Carly has connections. Carly has resources. Carly is exactly the kind of person who would burn the world down to save her daughter. So his paranoia naturally redirects toward her. And this is the part I can't stop thinking about. What if Valentine and Josslyn are hiding nearby when Cassius storms into Carly's house? Man, that scenario is brutal psychologically because now Valentine has a horrible choice to make. Does he reveal himself and risk getting Josslyn killed? Or does he stay hidden and watch Carly become the next hostage? That's not an action sequence anymore. That's emotional torture. If you ask me, this is where the writing could become really smart if handled correctly, because people online always scream stuff like, why didn't he just attack? But real situations involving guns don't work that way. Especially not when somebody injured is standing right next to you. Valentine knows timing matters. One wrong move, Cassius shoots Carly. One loud sound, Josslyn panics. One mistake, everybody dies. And honestly, I think Valentine would prioritize Josslyn first in that exact moment. Not because he doesn't care about Carly, but because Josslyn is already wounded and vulnerable. He just rescued her. If he rushes Cassius recklessly, the entire rescue becomes pointless. That's what makes this dilemma interesting. It's ugly. There's no clean, heroic option. And meanwhile, Cassius probably keeps spiraling deeper into rage. I can already picture him screaming accusations at Carly, demanding to know where Josslyn is hiding. Maybe shoving Carly around, maybe threatening her with the gun. The whole thing feels volatile. What fascinates me, though, is that Cassius may not even realize Valentine is involved at all. That ignorance gives Valentine an advantage, a massive one. Because while Cassius is obsessing over Carly, Valentine gets time to think strategically. And let's be real here, Valentine is dangerous when he has time to think. That's literally when he becomes most effective. Now, personally, I don't think Valentine would just sit there forever and let Carly disappear without a plan. No way. But I also don't think he'd instantly transform into some action movie hero either. That's too easy. I actually think the smarter direction would be Valentine making an anonymous call, maybe to Sonny, maybe to the police, maybe both. And honestly, that would create incredible tension because now Sonny enters the equation emotionally charged and completely furious. You already know Sonny would lose his mind hearing Carly's been kidnapped. Absolutely lose it. And if Sonny realizes Josslyn was targeted too, oh, it's over. The energy shifts immediately from rescue mission to total war. But there's another layer here that keeps bothering me, Josslyn herself. Because think about the emotional trauma stacking up on her in one single night. She attacks a man, escapes captivity, watches her mother get abducted because of her situation, hides silently while hearing threats downstairs. Guys, that kind of guilt changes people. I really think this storyline could permanently harden Josslyn emotionally. And honestly, maybe that's the point. Sometimes soap operas use kidnapping plots as temporary drama with no lasting impact, and I hate that. I really do. But this situation feels like it could leave scars that actually matter moving forward. Josslyn may never feel safe again after this. She may become more paranoid, more aggressive. less trusting, and weirdly enough, Valentine could become somebody she starts depending on emotionally after the rescue. That part interests me a lot. Not romantically, let me be clear. I'm talking psychologically. Shared trauma creates strange bonds in soaps all the time. Valentine becoming the one person who truly understands what happened that night, that could shift future alliances in unexpected ways. Meanwhile, Carly being taken hostage raises another question nobody's discussing enough. What exactly is Cassius hiding? Because this level of desperation usually means there's something bigger underneath the kidnapping itself. People don't go full scorched earth mode unless exposure terrifies them more than consequences. That's why I suspect Cassius isn't just protecting himself anymore. He may be protecting an entire operation, or maybe someone more powerful standing behind him. And if that's true, Carly becomes incredibly dangerous simply because she knows too much now. Which means Cassius may genuinely consider eliminating both Carly and Josslyn permanently. And honestly, that possibility changes the stakes entirely. The moment a villain starts thinking there's no way out, that's when soap opera villains become truly unpredictable. In the end, I keep coming back to Valentine standing there in silence while Carly gets dragged away. That image sticks with me for some reason. Maybe because it feels morally gray. Maybe because it forces him into an impossible situation. But if you ask me, that moment could define everything that happens next. Because whether Valentine rescues Carly personally, or calls Sonny and the police, or secretly tracks Cassius alone, the clock starts ticking immediately. Carly's life becomes more dangerous every second she remains captive. And the scary part? Cassius may already realize he's crossed the line he can never come back from.